Welcome into season preview here on the Carlow Sports Network. Sean Meyers joined by Julie Gaul, the longtime head coach for Carlow Women's Volleyball, as we look ahead to the 2023 season. First off, Julie, thanks again for doing this. Always exciting to talk to you because that means season's right around the corner. How excited are you for this?
I'm very excited, and thank you for having me, Sean. Going into my 31st season at Carlow, so very, very excited for this year.
Well, let's look back to last year first. I know the team was just shy of 500. You won 3 matches in a very competitive River States Conference. How did you evaluate how the season went?
I think it was an improvement over the years prior in River States, and also with the USCAA alignment that we have. We qualified for our 8th time in a row to the national championships and ended up in 3rd place for the 2nd year in a row. So I think that was a really good gauge, an improvement in River States, and another 3rd place finish in the USCA National Championships.
Certainly you want to build off of that. So what was the focus throughout the offseason for improvement?
The offseason, we basically focused on improving strength and fitness and individual skills. It's not a long off-season, but you have a chance for the players to really buckle down academically, and again, we worked on fitness.
It wasn't a huge senior class last year. Katie Tarasovich and Ellie Cook have moved on. What impact did they make to you into this program, though?
Well, first of all, I loved coaching both of them. They were both 4-year starters. They leave a gap in the defense and right side position. Katie was our libero. And I've just loved their leadership style, both very unique styles, and just really were the glue to the team in the past. I think they passed on a lot of their values to the returning players, and I look forward to continuing their legacy of playing here at Carlow, and now they're nurses and on with their careers. So again, I just loved coaching both of them, and we'll miss their leadership. But we've had a nice transition. That was also another thing that we did work on in the off season. We're seeing some emerging leaders.
So you mentioned that obviously you only had 2 players moving on. That means the vast majority of the roster is back, and many players who were key contributors. Who do you rely upon amongst those returners?
I think we're going to be relying heavily upon our seniors coming back, 1, for their leadership, and 2, to see where they may have developed some of those skills, and see where some gaps are with Katie and Ellie graduating. And also we've had a few of the players receive recognition last year at USCA Nationals, and we hope to improve upon those performances this year. But most importantly, it's a new year, a new start. We have 18 players, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see what each and every individual brings to the court, because you just never know what the skill set is until we start tomorrow.
Well, I know you mentioned that the 7 seniors. Is it as easy as saying those 7 are going to be our leaders, or is there different attributes in each of those players, and maybe even some younger players who have displayed leadership already?
We talked in our team meeting yesterday just about there are so many different ways that you can be a leader for a team. And right now, Meghan Alexander has been our captain throughout the summer. Katie and Ellie were our other 2 captains, so that we have a tri-captain approach. And so after summer training camp, we'll have a vote for the captains. So the team will decide who their leaders are to represent them and be the liaison between them and the coaches. So there are, they can lead on and off the court. Maybe they're leading in the classroom. Maybe somebody's struggling with a course. Maybe they're the ear that somebody can go to and listen to. So there's a lot of different ways that you can lead beside being on the actual volleyball court.
I know you said you never truly know how a player might perform until you get into game action, but when you think of this freshman group that's coming in, what expectations do you have for them?
I think just for them to get acclimated to the team and see how these 18 young women work together as a group. So the freshmen, there are 4 of them, and we'll see how they respond. It'll be their first college experience, of course, and they seem to be adjusting very well these first couple days since move-in, and we're very excited to see what they can bring to the court. into the team.
You use the word adjusting. There's an adjustment for all of the athletics here as you look at the transition, NAIA to NCAA. And it seems like, by and large, everyone's been excited about that. What are the biggest changes, and what are maybe some of the benefits of this move?
I'm very, very excited with this move to NCAA 3, especially with the AMCC. We are going to be closer to home, less travel, more time for out-of-classroom experience, less interference with in-classroom experience. I feel we're going to be competitive in the AMCC. They've been so welcoming to Carlow, as we're, with the other volleyball coaches and so forth, and administrators, just with us coming into the AMCC. So it's just been a very welcoming experience for us so far. And again, we haven't played these teams in years. We might have played, like I said, this is my 31st season, might have played them 20-some years ago. So it's exciting to be close. We can build our fan base. We can have people travel and be more accessible to our matches. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I know you said it's going to be a bit of an unknown, but when you look around the new conference and some of the teams you're playing, what expectations do you have?
I have just the expectation to bring our best each and every match, because we haven't played these teams except maybe in a scrimmage here or there. So we won't be tested until we're on the court. So it is hard to see where you're going to fit in that until we actually get on the court with them. So we had no common opponents from last year, and so it's really hard to gauge how we'll do against them, but I feel that we're going to be very competitive.
So what are the goals with the non-conference schedule that you put together this season?
A few of the goals were, one, to play some local NCAA teams. So we got those teams on the schedule. We haven't been able to play some of those teams in many years, just with being NAIA and them being NCAA. And a large focus on the preseason is with USCAA teams. That is our goal, to go to USCAA Nationals, and you need to play USCAA teams in order to see how you stand against some of those teams in your competitions.
There's been a familiar face around the program recently, last year, now again this year. George Slyman, the former athletic director here at Carlow, is helping you out. What does he bring to the table?
He brings so much experience and joy and just knowledge of the game of volleyball. I started here with George 31 years ago as his assistant. And so we've changed roles over the years, whether he was head coach, I was head coach. When he became the AD, I became the head coach. And so we bounced back and forth over the years, but it's been such a pleasure to have him back on the court and coaching again. And the team has responded very well to him. And again, it's the knowledge of the game that he brings, and just his style,
I know seeing him around all sorts of different sporting events, he was always excited about the Celtics, but I think volleyball was just a notch above the rest in terms of what he most anticipated. You've been here for a long time, as you mentioned, 30-plus years, 20-plus years as the head coach. So obviously there's a lot that you like about Carlow. What stands out the most to you?
Our students, and honestly our value of mercy. And there's a reason I've stayed here for so many years. It's just such a welcoming environment for all, and we are truly devoted to our students, and we want to see them be successful. We want to make sure that we see holistic development within our students, but that's the joy that brings me back year after year.
Well, glad to have you back for another year. Julie, thanks so much as always for doing this.
Thank you, Sean.
That is Julie Gaul, the head coach for the Celtics women's volleyball team here on the season preview. And we roll along here on the season preview for Carlow women's volleyball, looking at the 2023 season. I'm now joined by the senior setter, Meghan Alexander. First off, thanks for taking the time to do this. How's everything been with you recently?
Pretty good, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. Excited for another season of volleyball, as I'm sure you are as well. But before we look at this season, I want to think back to last year. How did you evaluate how you played?
A lot of the time last year, I would go back through and watch my film, just kind of see what I was doing, what I could do better, and even kind of look at what I was doing for my teammates as well, because volleyball is not like a singular person sport. It's our whole team working together, so I would do that a lot of the times.
When you think of what you bring to the table, what are some of your best abilities?
I would definitely say leadership. As a captain, it's a big responsibility to be a leader. Communication is super big. Just being there for your team on and off the court, just kind of being there for my team when they need me.
Well, you mentioned responsibility. I want to focus on your specific position, setter, because in many ways you orchestrate the attack. What responsibilities go with playing that position?
I've always seen being a setter as kind of like being the quarterback of the team. Like, I run the plays, I kind of just lead the communication, and so it's a big responsibility, but I do enjoy it. I know I share this responsibility with Sarah. Both of us do a very good job at keeping everyone on the same page with running plays, keeping everyone in high spirits and stuff when it comes to cheering and stuff like that when we score.
Volleyball is not a contact sport necessarily, but it still obviously takes a physical toll. How do you make sure that you prepare your body to stay healthy and to feel strong throughout the course of a season?
Keeping up with like going to the gym, making sure I'm healthy eating, keeping myself hydrated, especially like playing in the fall. The gyms sometimes get really, really warm, so kind of just like taking care of myself.
Now heading into your senior season, you think back on your career to this point, do any moments stand out?
Oh, definitely playing Point Park last year. It was a very exhilarating game, probably one of the best games I've ever played. Just a ton of energy. There were so many people in the gym. Like, it was just like something I'll never forget.
Shifting focus to the upcoming season, what do you have in mind in terms of goals for yourself and for the team?
For myself, kind of just to better every ball and keep positive about everything, because mental toughness is super important when it comes to volleyball. And then as for the team, kind of just like having a good team dynamic, working together, staying on the same page, and having the same goal of winning the USCAA National Championship in November.
I know we're still early on in the process for this season, but when you think of this year's team, what do you think maybe some of the strengths will be?
Definitely our team dynamic. It seems like this team, we're all bonding super well. We've become super close in just like such a short amount of time. And I think that we have a lot of great players, and so I think that a lot of our talents are going to work together and we're going to be pretty successful.
As a senior, how do you and some of the other upperclassmen help the newcomers, the freshmen, to this program acclimate?
I would say that we're super welcoming. We are very open to any questions, anything they need. We're super inviting for them to like come and hang out. Like, I know sometimes being in the dorms isn't always the best, so they're always welcome to come and kind of just get to know us and be there for stuff on and off the court.
You make the transition, all the athletic programs here do, from the NAIA and the River States Conference now to the NCAA and the AMCC. So what do you think maybe the biggest benefits are, and what are you going to miss about the RSC?
I would say that moving to the NCAA is more our speed, more people our height was like the biggest thing. We don't have a ton of height on our team, so sometimes that would catch us in games. But I think something I'll miss the most about the River States Conference was just the ultimate competitiveness. Like, it was so competitive. The games were super tough, but I think we all enjoyed it.
When you look ahead of this season, is there a particular match or maybe a couple of matches that you anticipate the most?
It seems like the team is the most excited for Chatham. I think it's because it's a hometown rivalry that we would like to start, I guess, because before it was Point Park because we were in the same town, but now it looks like it's going to be Chatham.
Lastly, what's your favorite aspect of attending Carlow University?
I would definitely say the small community. You become so close with people in such a short amount of time, and so I think the small community adds a lot to the school.
Well, Meghan, thank you so much for doing this again. We appreciate your time and good luck heading into 2023.
Thank you.
That is Meghan Alexander, a senior for the Celtics, here on the season preview. We continue here on the season preview for Carlow Volleyball, looking at the 2023 season. Sean Meyers joined by Taylor Claypoole, a senior middle hitter for the Celtics. First off, thanks for doing this. How's everything going with you?
It's going pretty well. So nothing new, nothing crazy, but
I'm sure you're looking forward to your senior season. Before we look at that, however, going back to last year, what were your biggest takeaways from your play?
I think my biggest takeaways were definitely I felt I had improved significantly from the previous season, but definitely we were able to kind of address some things that I wanted to work on over the summer, so that was probably what I noticed the most.
Well, speaking of that, what was your focus throughout the offseason?
Getting stronger, and I think I can speak for the whole team when I say that, but and also, working on the vertical. We're constantly trying to improve that, so I think that's what I focused on the most.
I know you've played a key role since you've started here at Carlow. What do you envision for your role on the team this year?
I would like to take over a leadership position. I feel I have a strong personality, and I also just kind of love the team aspect, so I'm hoping to be more of a leader in that way, and also kind of just, I try to be team funny guy, so that's usually my goal.
I know one of the goals for the team every year is to make it to Virginia Beach at the end of the season to play in the USCAA. You did that last year. What was the significance and importance of that tournament?
I think we were all so excited. I think the biggest thing for us making it there was just flat out making it there. That was definitely our number one season goal, was just to get there in the first place. And I think that when we return this year, we're shooting for first. So
how does the team take the step forward this year?
Communication. I think that's the one thing we struggled with the most last season, and I think that we're all kind of clear on what our goals are, and that will be the biggest improvement we can make.
Speaking of goals, what do you have in mind for yourself and for the team collectively?
For the team, in general, it's just creating a respectful environment and just feeling like a team. Less individuality and more of that team and just caring environment. Individually, not being late on the block.
It was somewhat of a smaller senior group last year. It's a much larger one this year. So where does the leadership come from, and how is that kind of divvied up?
I think that, so we have 7 seniors, so that's definitely a big group. And we all kind of take our own steps and step up when we have to. But also we're seeing a lot more leadership from the younger classes as well, which is really exciting, to not leave it all up to us. But I think we all kind of divvy it up amongst each other and just say whatever we're feeling. So,
who do you think maybe has a breakthrough season this year?
well, we're excited for all the freshmen. We've heard so many good things, but I think I'm most excited for Paris. I just think she has such a good attitude. She just is like, she's really kind, you know, and I've just heard a lot of good things about her.
So you are one of the many players who came by way of the WPIAL. You were at Armstrong. So is there some natural chemistry that comes with having so many different players all from Western Pennsylvania together?
I think so. I think the biggest thing is we have similar experiences. We played similar teams. We might have even played each other. So we've gotten to see each other before and kind of get to know each other's play style. But definitely just having those same experiences is like super important.
Julie Gaul has been a longtime head coach at Carlow, multiple decades here guiding this program. When you think of her name, what comes to mind first?
Kind. That's kind of the generic answer, but that's just who she is as a person. She's so understanding. She's the first person to talk about mental health and making sure that we're all doing well. She's just a really kind person, and she genuinely cares about us.
Let's finish with a fill in the blank. This will be a successful season for you and the team if we keep in mind what our goals are. We always try to set season goals, and sometimes I think those get forgotten, but I think that's the one thing we're going to focus on the most in this preseason especially, is just setting those goals and sticking to them. Well, Taylor, thanks so much for doing this, and we look forward to seeing you on the court this season.
Thank you for having me.
That is Taylor Claypoole, a senior for the Celtics here on the season preview.